Speak with me. And over the weekend, we had some World Cup qualifiers with Ghana now sitting on top of Group D. Michael, who else has qualified?
Well, I think some countries perfectly know what they are going into from this stage. Egypt, the African champions from 2006 and 2008, as well as 2010, one of the teams that have qualified. Ethiopia thought they had after beating South Africa by 2-1, but off the back of a protest by Botswana about the fact that they use an unqualified player, that qualification still very much on hold. Elsewhere, Algeria won yesterday. They did beat Rwanda in Kigali. They have qualified because Mali, who were their closest competitors, were unable to win. Tunisia looking good, but the definite at the moment, Ivory Coast, Algeria, as well as Egypt, the North African champions. Ghana could make certain of qualification on the final day on September 6th. Of course, the Black Stars, after winning 2-0 against Lesotho with goals from Christian Achu and Asamoah Gyan, sit on top of Group D by 1 point. It means that on September 6th, which is a Friday, at the Baba Sports Stadium, from what we understand, 1 point will mean that the Black Stars have qualified for the next stage of the 2014 World Cup qualifier, which will involve a playoff.
And after September 16, you're saying the playoffs, is there going to be a draw for that? Well,
there definitely will be a draw. FIFA has said today, FIFA did say over the weekend, that the top 5 ranked African sides per their monthly FIFA rankings in September will go into a draw. Now, what it means from a Ghana viewpoint is that if the Black Stars are able to get through to the next stage, and there's a lot of ifs, then they would avoid Ivory Coast, for instance, who top the qualifiers. And because there are no games between now and September, nothing much will change as far as the standings are concerned. So at this stage, if you take the way the standings are at this stage, the Ghana potentially will avoid the likes of Ivory Coast, they will avoid Nigeria. There will also be the fact that Ghana will not play potentially a country like Algeria, but it doesn't mean that it's all going to be rosy, because in that bottom 5 in the top 10 African sides, there are some really good teams there. I did mention Egypt. They may have struggled to qualify for the last Nations Cup. They may not have been at the World Cup since 1990, but under Bob Bradley, they've been a very efficient side. They won all their qualifying games so far, so they'll be one of those teams most countries will be desperate to avoid in the next round. Senegal topped their group as well, and even though they've had all their problems and are ranked somewhere in the 90s by FIFA at the moment, a country with the likes of Papiss Cissé, Demba Ba and the rest always won, that other countries will be desperate and keen to avoid. And then of course there's Cameroon in there as well. So some teams not exactly in the most difficult situation at the moment. For Ghana though, the last 2 qualifiers have been very good. The Black Stars went into the game against Sudan knowing that they needed to keep pace with Zambia. Zambia did win against Lesotho by 4-0, and the Black Stars won by 3-1, remember, like a week ago. And then the Zambians were unable this weekend to win because they drew 1-1. Mohamed Koko scoring for Sudan immediately after the Zambians had gone ahead 2 minutes earlier through a Jacob Mulenga goal. Now what that goal by Sudan meant was that Zambia then went only 2 points ahead of the Black Stars before yesterday's game, and the team knew very well that if they won that game against Lesotho yesterday, which they eventually did, then the Black Stars were very much in control. So Ghana in control, and the nature of the draw for the next qualifying means that it could well be a control that the Black Stars make the most of.
Has there been any surprises in the qualifiers?
I think you have to go back to one of those groups, the one with Congo DR as well as Burkina Faso. Now, this weekend, if Congo DR had beaten Burkina Faso at home, then Congo DR would have been, Congo Brazzaville would have been through to the next stage of qualifying. But what it meant was that the Burkinabes went there and scored a goal. Bansi, the man who scored their goal against Ghana in the semi-finals of the Nations Cup, with a crucial goal for the Burkinabes, it means that the Burkinabes will go into the final round of qualifying 1 point behind Congo and leave them very much in control of their own affairs. The other surprise, you have to say, is a purely administrative issue. FIFA issued a statement yesterday and said that they were investigating 3 countries, including Ethiopia, who topped their group ahead of South Africa by 5 points and would have qualified. They're investigating as well Togo and then also Equatorial Guinea, all of them fulfilled in unqualified players. And I think that's surprising about it is that at this level, you think countries understand everything that goes with player eligibility for major tournaments like this. But clearly a lot of African countries have not learned their lesson. So Ethiopia could lose 3 points from a game they won 2-1 against Botswana in Gaborone. If that happens, it means that they will be only 2 points ahead of South Africa, and that on the final day, they must win against the Central African Republic to stand any chance of going through. That eligibility issue also came up in the case of Sudan versus Zambia. The Sudanese had beaten Zambia by 2-0 and then fielded a player who was red carded from the Nations Cup against the same Zambia side. It meant they had to forfeit that game. So most people are suggesting that the fact that there are so many unqualified player issues is a major low for African football.
Michael, apart from Brazil, which team has qualified to the World Cup in 2014? We
definitely do know that Japan are through. Japan indeed are the only side that is through to the 2014 World Cup alongside Brazil. The European qualifiers is still very much ongoing. In South America, Argentina had looked very, very strong until they were unable in 2 qualifying games against Ecuador and Bolivia. They were unable against Ecuador and Colombia, when they were unable to pick up 6 maximum points and pick 2 points. So they're looking good, but not certain of a place at the World Cup. So is Colombia. The problem for the Africans, as we did mention, is purely a case of the fact that there will be playoffs again. So by September, still 10 countries in the race to qualify for Africa. Japan will watch all that qualifiers confident in the knowledge that they are already there. Apart from that, everyone's still fighting.